Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Straight Shooting Sports Talk podcast, and I am your host, Dujane Bland. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the injuries that have been suffered around the NFL. And if your team is one of these teams that have suffered an injury and a critical injury to one of your key players, you're feeling it right now because you're trying to figure out where your team's going to go from here, especially if your talent pool is thin. And, NFL teams, they prepare and they try to prepare very hard to make sure that there's no talent drop off when it comes to the players on their roster so they can keep their game plans and the process of what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish as a team, whether it's offense or defense, keep that going. And that's very difficult to do. We know that money and salary cap plays a big role in how many talented players you can keep. And then it's also contingent on GMs and how well they do in evaluating talent and understanding and picking quality football players to be on the roster. This week one was quite a tough one. And I tell you that if you're a San Diego Chargers fan, poor Keenan Allen suffered a lacerated kidney in last season. He missed the last 8 games of last season and worked so hard to get back out on the football field. And all these guys really work hard all off season to get out on the field and to put a product out there and to show what they can do on week one to contribute to their football team. And then to have something like this happen, it's difficult. It was a non-contact injury. He was coming out of a break on the passing route and just went straight to the ground. He was actually had to be carted off the field, and you could really see the emotion on his face when he was carted off. And unfortunately, when we see stuff like that happen, it's usually not a good sign. And it wasn't. Torn ACL in his right knee, and he's going to miss the remainder of the season. And that's going to change the dynamic of that offense, unfortunately. He's a big piece of what they like to do over there at the wide receiver position. But hey, it's definitely your next man up, and hopefully they can. It's Phillip Rivers. He does a really good job of making something out of nothing, kind of like Tom Brady. And I'm not saying he's like Tom Brady, but he's able to make guys around him better. Now, one that's a little bit of an annoyance is Robert Griffin III. For the Cleveland Browns. His entire career has been riddled with injury, whether it's freak accidents or him just not getting down in the field of play. And once again, I've heard it all. I've heard it all from everyone saying that it looked like the player, he didn't expect that player to be there when he was stepping out of bounds. Kind of caught him off guard. I get it. But the bottom line is that you have to be prepared and you have to understand where you are in the stream of things and get your butt out of bounds. You know your history. You have to get out of bounds. He didn't do that. It didn't look bad initially. And then all of a sudden he's wincing after the one play and then he's out of the game. Well, he actually finished the game, excuse me. But he is now coming off the field and in the press room, said it wasn't a big deal. Well, come to find out, he has a fractured bone in that left shoulder, and they placed him on IR Monday. And it could be season ending. Now, the question is it career ending? And I'm not saying career ending as in, it's going to hurt his career totally, but the question is, can he come back, and will he even be a starting quarterback after this? And I have to say, I'm not really sure that that's possible. I'm not sure that they're going to give him another shot at being a quarterback in this league with the injuries that he suffered. And all he had to do was get out of bounds and get out of bounds sooner. You weren't going to get the first down. You were being cut off. Get out of bounds. It just makes no sense to me. But here we are back at it again. He's out. Possibly 6-8 games. They're going to reevaluate it in 3 to 4, but it's very unfortunate for a guy who could have resurrected his career right here. Looked halfway decent, at least with the pieces that they had, and now that opportunity is shot and out the window. So it's very unfortunate for the Cleveland Browns as well. They probably weren't expecting him to play all 16 games, but they would like to have had him for 16 games and was looking to build their offense around him and hope to be able to at least be decent. Be whether it be a full time where he's going to be there for a long time or short term. He was the stopgap that they were going to use until they could find a franchise quarterback. And now they have to go to Josh McCown. So we'll see how that's going to work out for the Cleveland Browns franchise. Now, another unfortunate injury was Houston Texans Brian Cushing. Now, as we all know, he was 2009 Defensive Rookie of the Year. He missed significant time with a host of injuries in 2012 and 2013, and he could be out for 6 weeks. Suffered a knee injury during the game and this weekend, and you really hope that he can bounce back from that and be able to contribute. That Houston Texans defense, even without him, is still going to be good. But with him, that's an extra piece that they can have, that they can use to rotate around and use to give offenses different looks. And you hate it for the player. You fight so much and you fight through injury, and you want to come back and you want to contribute, and you know how this business works. It's a what have you done for me lately league, and there's only so many times that teams allow for guys to be injured before, whether it's you're either willing to take a pay cut or because of cap issues, you may be shipped along. So you just hate to see this for any player because it's just it's a business. It's definitely a business, and they want to see production. They want to see production now. So he's going to be out for 6 weeks. So it's not nearly as bad as the other two, but it's still time lost. I don't think it'll hurt this Texans team too much at all. And I tell you, the New Orleans Saints, a team that really needed cornerback play, needed consistent and quality cornerback play, and Delvin Breaux, man, he actually he's a guy who was on the up and up, come from the CFL, played a little CFL. They plucked him off of there, got an opportunity with the Saints and made the best of it. This guy, he is lucky to even be playing football. If you don't know his story about having that broken neck in his early career days, and coming back from that, it's just amazing to see what he's able to do. Well, he broke his fibula in the second quarter of the game against the Oakland Raiders, and the funny thing is that guy tried to play through it. He had to eventually be carted off to the locker room, but he tried to play through that. That's tough. I don't know if I think I might have gone down and cried like a baby, but he tried to play through that. But he's going to miss about 6 weeks is what they say. It's going to be a blow to that defense. They really are clamoring for stout corner help to help with that defense, and we know they gave up 35 points. It was a shootout in week 1. So they really need him to be there. But, hey, it's the next man up type of league, and got to step up. The next man has to step up and make plays and keep this ball rolling. And that's where having a quality GM really comes into play. And there's a lot of other guys that have been nicked up. Looking at Russell Wilson, doesn't seem to be too serious, but something to monitor there. He got his ankle stepped on or rolled up on in the Miami game. But it's expected that he's possibly going to play this upcoming week in week 2. You have Zach Ertz. That guy, he took a shot and had a displaced rib, and that's pretty painful. A displaced rib in your side is not fun at all. It's on the left side of his body. I believe he played a little while with that displaced rib as well. Um, and he's going to be missing some time. It's going to be week to week for him. So it's from what I understand, listening to my guy Teron Davenport, who covers the team for USA Today Sports Media Group. It's an area that can be pretty risky, so that's something they're going to have to take very slow with him. So that's going to be interesting and something to monitor. Eagles have other tight ends like Selleck who can step up and make plays for this team, so they shouldn't miss too much from that. But he's definitely going to be missed as far as a guy that they can have in the rotation there. So that's going to be something to watch. And Sammy Watkins, a guy who's coming back from that foot injury, and from what it seems, it's just normal, recovery with scar tissue and etc. But that's going to be something that he's going to be monitored on week to week. He says he's not going to be out. He says he's not going to be out for the next for week 2. So we're going to have to really pay attention to that. And of course, fantasy owners are going to be really paying attention to that, being that they're going to be facing the Jets on Thursday night. So that's going to be something that fantasy owners are going to be monitoring very, very close in that. Now, with injuries, a lot of people wonder why so much and why so often. It seems like we have these type of injuries, and sometimes they come in like droves, as far as ACL injuries, knee injuries, things of that nature. And sometimes I think it's a credit to the guys are just bigger and faster. They're bigger and stronger and faster. And when you look at specifics, especially knee injuries, you can strengthen all the muscles around that knee, but the one thing you can't strengthen is an ACL. So if your muscles you're tight and built and strong, and you have all that torque, well, when they're coming out of breaks, or making movements, that's a lot of tough muscle moving, but that's a lot of torque on that ACL, and sometimes that joker just pops. But then you have to look at the type of league that we have. There's only a handful of players that make it. And then the ones that are trying to make it, or are bubbles on the roster, or maybe they are, 9-10 year vets with a little bit of a high contract. They don't want to miss a whole lot of time because they want to make sure that the coaches see them and that they're out there on the field, and they're not missing a lot of time, and they're not showing that, they're either injury prone or not going to be available, because you could be quickly replaced by a younger guy. And that's how this league works. It's the next man up. It's a young man's game at times, and teams are trying to get younger, and they're also trying to keep money to a minimum. So, and then we could look at, how much they're practicing. And I know coaches do an excellent job of making sure they're monitoring their players, but, if you're listening to a player and he may be slightly dinged up, but he doesn't want to miss any time because he wants to prove to the coaches why he should be on the roster. So we could look at various things, but, we can't avoid them. Injuries are part of the game. We understand that. GMs understand that, and they prepare for that in hopes that, there's not a significant drop off of talent in this, on their team. So very interesting week 1. And it's unfortunate injuries, and hopefully it gets better for your team in the injury department. Well, we thank you so much for listening.